All right, welcome everybody. Sorry we were a little bit late. We're going to get started right away. My name is Dora Angali. I'm the head of university programs. Welcome to our internship program, AMA. We're super excited. We had so much interest in the program and our roles. So we're here today to tell you a little bit about what we do as part of the university program. And we'll introduce you to two former interns who will tell you about the experience that they had the year before. And you can ask us as many questions as you want. And before we get started, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So first of all, there's a chat in the bottom right. You can see a little speech icon that says chat underneath there. Please come in the chat, say hi, tell us where you're from, why you're calling in, which school you're going to, why you're interested in blockchain. So please introduce yourself and make some friends. We'll have a couple of polls coming up here on the right as well. So please feel free to respond to those. We just want to learn a little bit more about you, who you are, and why you're here. Questions. If you have questions, that's what we're all here for. Yes, please do ask them. Use the questions tab, which is right next to the chat tab, and please keep them to today's content. We're talking about the internship program, so please keep it to that topic. And last but not least, please apply for an internship program. We just posted the roles on our careers page, I think 30 minutes ago, so they're fresh out of the oven. Please feel free to apply there right now, but we'll talk about our internship in detail today and answer any questions you may have. And before we dive in, my colleague Eva and I want to tell you a little bit about our university programs very briefly. Eva will talk about the Algorand blockchain clubs, and then I'll say a little bit about the Algorand Centers of Excellence program before we get into the nitty-gritty. So I'll hand over to Eva, our student engagement lead. Eva, you can go.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, welcome everybody who are listening to us. I would like to hear you. Where are you from? Where are you listening to us? Many new faces. So welcome everybody. Well, my name is Eva. I am the student engagement lead from the Algorand Foundation. My role here is to develop a global community of students, which is like a big challenge for us because we know you, we know what you want, and I am here to listen to you about all the things that you want to talk to me. Well, first of all, the Algorand Blockchain Clubs, this is a global student organization. This is an initiative from the Algorand Foundation trying to build this global community of students because we know that you're passionate about learning, you want to build, you want to innovate, you want new things. So we are here to listen to you. And of course, I'm here, you know. Of course, the focus of this community is to encourage the next generation of professionals because you are studying right now, but you will be like the next builders, the next generation. You will be like building everything on the Algorand Foundation, on the Algorand blockchain, and we want to support you. Next slide, please. Okay, I would like to tell you a bit what we have been doing in the past year. In 2022, we successfully could build some strategic university partnerships. We could engage with the local partnership with the Princeton Blockchain Society. They could develop like a lot of meetups, a lot of activities, and a lot of resources that you can have it available in their webpage and in their social media. Of course, we also have some regional partnership. For example, with Tubarao is a Chinese students from the Tsinghua University. We are very proud to count on them because they reach out more than 70,000 unique events. And of course, a lot of resources in Chinese. We know this is a very complicated language, but for me, it's the most. But we will have a lot of resources there, so you can start learning and building. And of course, we have like resources from beginners until experts. You will find it a lot. Of course, we have a big partnership with Cryptosphere. This is like a big French community. Previous slide, please. Thank you. And well, in the next month, we will have a big summit in France, in Paris, where we will have like an entire conference based on the students. Everybody's welcome. So if you're in Europe, if you're attending Paris Blockchain Week, please don't miss this thing. You will love it. And of course, we have the Algo Hub partnership. This is based on the APAC region. So Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, all the countries in the APAC region. So please take a look at the Algo Hub resources and all the community that we have been building because it's amazing. Next slide, please. And now, what are we doing for the 2023? Well, in 2023, we want to keep growing. We want to keep doing this thing because we love it. So we have a new partnership with the University of San Francisco, the School of Law, the Golden Gate School. So this is great because we know that for lawyers, it's very hard to find resources and of course to learning. So this School of Law will be like developing a long series about like what is Algorand and what we can do with lawyers. So this is amazing, and you will find like clear articles, clear resources for you if you are a law student, or if you are in the area of business. So this is great. And also, we will keep increasing our engagement throughout the world. We have, of course, Algo Bharat, an initiative from the Algorand Foundation to build student clubs in India. We had an amazing news the past week with a big partnership. We also care about inclusion, about diversity. So India is big on the map for us right now. So you will like to see what they have. Of course, we have BAF. Well, this is very great for Latin America. In BAF, which is the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation, we will be doing engagement through all the South America and North America in general. We will be creating content in Spanish and, of course, in English for all those who want to learn and want to develop a blockchain the app, or want to, I don't know, what is blockchain and what is Algorand and everything. We will have like a lot of webinar in Spanish and of course in English, capstone projects, activities during consensus, a boot camp. You can imagine how many cool things we have. And of course, we are planning to develop a new partnership in Middle East. We are start talking with Crypto Oasis. This is a big ecosystem based in Dubai, and Lebanon, Abu Dhabi. So we are trying to reach these students with my colleague Ryan. We are trying to bring all the best resources for all the regions. So keep in the loop because we have many cool things. And of course, I will be onboarding more than 15 campus champions. This is students from the most important universities of the world. You will see them in Buenos Aires, Mexico, US, Serbia, Greece. They will be everywhere. So don't lose this opportunity to know them, because it will be like a very good opportunity to keep increasing our engagement through everywhere. So,
Thank you, Eva. This was great. Yeah, and at the end of the presentation, I also have the QR codes for Eva and me if you want to connect on LinkedIn or on Twitter. So please connect with us. We always like to hear from you. I want to tell you very, very quickly something about our Algorand Centers of Excellence program. I know some of you who are here, you're affiliated with universities in our network. So last year, we launched our network of centers. We work with 10 lead organizations that you can see listed here, and they work with 38 sub-organizations. So we work with a total of almost 50 universities and research organizations across the globe, from South Africa to London, from Australia to Fiji, from Singapore to Hong Kong, to UCLA, Yale, Columbia, Berkeley. We have a bunch of big names there, as you can see. And these ACEs, as we call them, have the focus to really advance blockchain education across all institutions in the world, and also advance blockchain research. And a big focus of us is working with students. So when we designed this program, it was very important to us that we're not just giving money for research, but one of the requirements was, one, how can these universities work with students and really make sure that they get hands-on knowledge in blockchain, so they don't just read about the Bitcoin white paper or learn a little bit about Ethereum, but how can they really learn how to build on Algorand, how to innovate on it, how to become entrepreneurs, and how to really use the knowledge to accelerate their career. And the second big important point was we really wanted to make sure that we wanted a diverse audience. Yeah, so we wanted to part of the requirement was that each of these teams had to come up with measures that included that all students from all backgrounds were included in this program. So let me go ahead and show you just a quick overview of all the organizations that are part of our network. And now let's dive into the Algorand Foundation Internship Program. So last summer, we created a little pilot with a small number of interns, and 2 of them are here today. And this summer, we're going big, and we have about a dozen or so roles available this summer. Our internships are all paid. They run from about June to August for 10 to 12 weeks. And we have a variety of roles available this summer. Again, as I said in the beginning, all these roles have just been posted on our careers page. So please go and have a look. And you can see that we have roles available for technical and non-technical backgrounds. So you don't need to be a developer per se. If you're interested in marketing or in social impact, or work with Eva and me in the university programs, please go and check out those job descriptions. Most of our roles are remote, and some of them may require you to come in the office at least part-time, but those decisions are made depending on the role and based on the needs of the intern. So without further ado, I want to introduce our 2 guest speakers today. We're so grateful they're here. I want to introduce my dear colleague, John Umud, who's our Web3 associate at the Algorand Foundation, and he was actually an intern last summer. And then I also want to introduce Tabani Willington, who is joining us from where you right now, Tabani?
In Johannesburg.
Oh, that's
Hi,
right,
everybody.
Johannesburg. Yeah. She's a market risk analyst at the South African Reserve Bank. So maybe Tabani, do you want to start? You want to just say hi and talk a little bit about your background and what brought you to Algorand Foundation last summer?
Sure. Okay. So thanks, Dora, and thanks, Eva, for the great introduction. So my name is Tamani Vaitilingam. I'm a market risk analyst, a policy maker, and a regulator from the South African Reserve Bank. I also have an undergrad and honors degrees in investment management, as well as a master's in finance. And I'm currently completing my MBA with the University of London. What brought me to Algorand is in 2022, I was nominated as one of 24 delegates from across the world to participate in the IFC and Milken Institute Capital Markets Program in Washington, D.C. So blockchain technology and the Web3 revolution have a very big impact on capital markets and banks and financial institutions. And so my interest in interning in Algorand actually was to give me an opportunity to get underneath the hood of this financial innovation as a regulator and a policymaker, to really understand the mechanics behind the technology, so I can regulate it and supervise it better when I return to my jurisdiction in South Africa as a policymaker and a regulator. Thanks, Doro.
Thank you, Tabani. John, do you want to share a little bit?
Hello, everyone. My name is John. First of all, thanks to Doro and Eva for setting this up. Glad to be here. And thanks, everyone, for joining. Well, I was born and raised in Istanbul, Turkey. I graduated from UCLA with an econometrics and quantitative economics degree. And I guess what brought me to Algorand last year was all throughout college, I mainly interned in crypto companies. I first started working in a blockchain company called Bilira, which was the first stablecoin of Turkey, which sort of got me down the rabbit hole. After that, I did a fair bit of consultancy internships at Strategy and PwC, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and that further kind of solidified that I wanted to be in blockchain. And amongst all the layer ones that I was approaching to and trying to find internships at, Algorand was actually one of the ones that I knew least about technically, and like I actually didn't have a lot of information on Algorand. And as the more I looked into the protocol itself, I saw a lot of scale and potential, and I saw a very technically capable chain with a very good team that hasn't yet maybe tapped into the potential that it deserves. So I was very curious and very excited about actually finding an internship here, and that's sort of what brought me.
And can you be a little more specific about what type of internship you held?
So I actually came in as a gaming intern for PG, our head of gaming, which then sort of evolved into a cross-vertical role within the Web3 verticals. And the Web3 verticals, to be specific, can be further subcategorized into gaming, NFTs, metaverse, sports and entertainment, so on and so forth. So I came in as a gaming intern and then became a cross-vertical role. And what that essentially means is I dealt a lot with, some housekeeping within our vertical, along with, both inbound and outbound BD, which essentially means making sure that the projects within our ecosystem can actually tap into the resources of the foundation, making sure they scale, making sure that they they can achieve their goals, along with identifying what we're missing within the Algorand ecosystem so that we can reach outbound and develop partnerships and so on and so forth.
Sounds like you had your hands full there, John.
Yep.
Tabani, you want to talk a little bit about your role and what you worked on while you were here?
Sure, thanks, Doro. So on my end, I actually interned in the market analytics team with Michele and Massimo. So within our team, we did a lot of research, and it was a research-based role. So what we try to get a sense of is what is actually the developments in the blockchain sector right now. And one of the biggest stuff that we're looking into is CBDCs. So CBDCs are your central bank digital currencies. What are the regulations coming out around those? How is the US aiming to regulate those, and how that's going to impact different central banks around the world? So that's a lot of the research that we did over there. Some of the projects that I also got the chance to work on through my engagements with Doro. So what the benefit of the internship is that you're not stuck to one sort of department, as John also alluded to now. You get a chance and get exposure to different sides of the institution that allows you to learn a bit more as well. So through my engagements with Doro and her team, I also actually got to do a lot of reviews of projects that were submitted through Master Z. I don't know if you remember Master Z, Doro. We did a lot of, where a lot of students actually submit their ideas and projects that they want to run on a platform, a crowdsourcing platform, and getting a sense of how the technology can actually be used in such diverse ways. Over and above the ways that are typically media-sized, there's so many other use cases for the technology, and that's one of the biggest projects that I actually got to work on, and gave me exposure to understanding the use of the platform beyond just finance and what we're seeing right now typically publicized. Yeah.
And Tabani, so you're based in Johannesburg. The program that you participated was based in the US, and Michele and Massimo live in Italy. Can you talk a little bit how that all worked for you? And because a lot of our roles are remote, and how did you sort of talk to your supervisors? How did you get to know the other team members? And maybe walk us through like a day in the life of Tabani when you were still an intern. Like, what would that look like? What can prospective interns imagine?
So as you can imagine, there were 3 different time zones at play. So when I started my internship, I was in Washington, D.C., and there was a time zone difference between me and my supervisors who were both in Italy. Oh, am I still connected?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I just got a message now saying my connectivity has been lost. Yeah. So the engagements were very, very informal, and that's the beauty of the organization, is that it's very easy to integrate into life in the institution. The supervisors are very accommodating to your working environment, your working style, to where you are remotely in the world. So you don't have to typically worry about that kind of dynamic. So at some stage in my internship, I actually came back to Johannesburg, South Africa. And at that stage, my time zones were aligned with my supervisors in Italy. But over and above that, I had regular engagements with both my supervisors, whether it was on Slack or via email. We actually had also calendar invites and Zoom meetings to discuss some of the work that I was working on, which was more project-based. I don't know what John's internship was like, but mine was not BAU intensive. It was more project-based, so we'd have regular engagements on a weekly basis just to follow up on progress on the projects that had been assigned to me. So I'd use those kind of platforms to engage with them. It was also very easy to get in touch with people within the organization, not just the people that I'm working with, but also just generally people within the entity, where I needed information, whether it was engaging with other interns as well, getting information from them. So it was very, very easy, very informal, but we also had the formal engagements as well, which is the Monday morning meetings. We get a sense of what's actually happening across the entity. You're not just boggled down and siloed into what's happening in your space, but you actually get exposure to see what's happening across the entity as well. And that also allows you to engage with other people beyond your division if you're interested in actually volunteering for other projects. And that's how I got to engage with some of the other colleagues as well, where I was actually put onto other projects because I had interest and keen to learn more about those spaces as well. So that's it from me, Doro.
Thanks, Tabani. John, what about you? What's a day in the life of John, the intern, and how does it compare to your full-time role now?
Yeah, I mean, the internship role, we were all basically remote, and during my internship, my direct supervisor was in the same time zone as me, so that was actually pretty helpful. But then again, there was a fair bit of travel going on as well, and since we have people all over the world, the West Coast, the East Coast, the UK, the Middle East, Asia, sometimes it was a bit of a problem to sort of, allocate the proper time to, move forward most efficiently. But over time, we got used to it, and everyone, when we get into a rhythm, then it started to work out pretty well. We would have weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings set that everyone would attend. And I think one of the most important things that Tabani actually mentioned is, both the informal and the formal side. So on the informal side, you actually get the flexibility and kind of the wiggle room that you would get in a startup, but also the reliability that you would get in a corporate company. So I believe that as an intern, it actually allowed me to be more incentivized and to actually contribute more. Whereas, in some of my previous internships, I was actually kind of stuck in one path. Here I got to explore what I wanted to do.
And can you tell us, was there like a particular highlight of your time with us where you're like, do you have an anecdote or, something?
I mean, a couple. Really okay, so I guess I can get into that with like, the work side of things and the fun side of things a little bit. Okay. I mean, definitely the launch pads were one of the projects that I liked working on. At the time when I was more focused towards gaming, we didn't really have a lot of, launch pads within the ecosystem. And that I sort of took the lead on that and tried to expand on it with some of the connections and resources and the teams that I knew that were based in Turkey. And because of my previous internships, I was connected in that region, and Turkey is one of the regions that actually have good traction on developer side with Algorand. So I kind of took the lead on that and developed a strategy and working with different launch pads. And now, we actually have a decent sized preferred partner list, I guess, in a sense, for launch pads that we can actually tap into and have mutual deal flow with, projects. And, working on that as an intern and actually seeing the results made me very happy. Definitely one of the things that I enjoyed. Another thing I would definitely say, the Formula E events was very nice in New York. I'm a major car fan, and I hadn't been to Formula E before, so that was one of the things that I enjoyed a lot. Plus, having to network, being able to be in the same room with all those people, getting to learn from them, and meet all kinds of interesting people was definitely one of the things that I enjoyed the most. I mean, during my internship time here, I met more people than I did in all my other internships combined, by far, for sure.
Yeah,
that I think is one of the most important things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good feedback. Thank you. And Tabani, what about you? Did any moments stand out to you during your time with us? You were with us for a little longer than the other interns.
Sure. I think one of the things I've mentioned earlier on, maybe prematurely, was my Master's Z exposure and review. That was fantastic exposure. But I think one thing that stuck out to me, and I wanted to kind of share it with others, is the fact that you're interning doesn't mean that you are, a small, unrecognizable component of the entity. What actually happened was we had an engagement with Stacey Warden, CEO of the entity at the time. I'm pretty sure she still is. And when we had that engagement, she actually set time aside to engage with us as interns. And I think that was quite a valuable and remarkable component to have somebody so senior show such value and appreciation for us as interns. I think one of the components that also stuck out to me from that engagement is realizing that as much as the blockchain, space is very technical, it's very, new, it's very exciting, there's still an underlying desire to make a difference through the platform, through this technology, through this innovation. And when she communicated and articulated that really, really inspired me, that there's still an underlying depth and a grounding beyond all this excitement that we see on the surface. And that for me has stuck with me and still resonates with me to this very day. The fact that there's a heart, there's a mission, there's a vision, there's a purpose behind this innovation and what people are trying to do with it. So that really stuck with me.
And can I ask Tabani and also John, you're both not developers, right? You don't have a degree in computer science. You may have never coded in your life. I don't know this much detail. But what's it like if you're not technical and you intern at the Blockchain Foundation? Did you have to learn a lot? Was there a lot of new vocabulary, or were you able to sort of manage? What do you think, Tabani?
Sure. I think on my end, what comforted me is realizing that there's a lot of people in the organization who are just in a similar situation as you are, where you don't have a lot of background in blockchain and Web3, but you're learning as you go along. They actually held webinars from the different departments to actually teach everybody about what they do, the terminology, and how it all integrates into the bigger picture. So as much as it's intimidating coming in at the beginning, and it is a steep learning curve, let's not lie. If you're coming in with no experience, no exposure to it, it is a steep learning curve, but it's exciting. It is comfortable as well because you have people supporting you. As Evangeline mentioned earlier on, they're trying to support the growth and development of next generation blockchain leaders. And with that kind of mentality in mind, you guarantee that they're going to be nurturing your development as much as they're going to be pushing it at the same time. So that's what I experienced from my time there.
Mm-hmm. John, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely having prior Web3 and blockchain knowledge is a plus that can't be denied. But overall, in specific to Algorand's case, Algorand is definitely an engineering powerhouse. We have a lot of engineers and a lot of, very, very skillful DevRel people and a lot of crypto researchers. And, in my time here, when I saw is that at the end of the day, yes, we are a blockchain, yes, we're a platform company, but you do need some BD and people that govern the ecosystem to actually make sure that everything works properly. So I have never, I don't have a computer science degree. I don't have an engineering degree. I come from econometrics and finance, and my prior internships in crypto was sort of more on the finance side. As I said, I worked at a stablecoin company, but I was working mostly with outbound BD. So having that experience and researching everything on my own, I knew the basic tools. I knew I had a lot of knowledge within the space, but I wasn't as knowledgeable technically as, of course, our developers. But what I saw was, even with all the partnerships that we were working on, I'm actually talking to people kind of on the same page as me, because most of the people that are coming on from Web 2 to Web 3, for example, don't really have that knowledge as well. So as I said, I think both of it is definitely needed within the company, but coming in fresh without any kind of knowledge whatsoever, that'll definitely be a tough task for everyone. So I'd say the most important thing within crypto is that it's an ever-evolving space and it moves very, very fast. So you just have to be on top of it 24/7. You just have to be on top of every single advancement, every single news, everything. Because at the end of the day, this is not something that they teach in school. We don't have a degree for this, nothing like that. If you like it and if you're genuinely curious about it, then at the end of the day, you're going to be successful at it. That's the way I see it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a technical person either, and that but it's really about keeping up. And it's in the beginning, I think I tried to keep up by like taking notes and writing everything down, but then I was like pretty much just writing everything down. So I think it's find some news outlets or blogs that are reliable. And I also posted here our learning resources. Those are partially education programs that we support that are completely free, but there are also slide decks, GitHubs, everything that we do is open source. And what we're trying to do with the ACE program is that blockchain education becomes normal, that is part of your degree, that it's like a perfectly, you don't have to go to YouTube, you can learn it at the university that you...
And yeah, especially for like recent college graduates, I think one of the most important things to consider, especially when going into blockchain, is that this is a relatively new, so like every couple of decades, we see this, piece of technology that might have the potential to revolutionize or maybe change the infrastructure of industry, like certain industries that we have today. So basically, when you're coming out of college, you sort of have a couple paths. You can select, a more generalized and more secure path, like consultancy or investment bank or something like that, maybe where you learn a specific skill set that you can apply to certain different scenarios. You can technically say that for blockchain as well, but in a way more specialized sense. So as I said, this is an ever-evolving space. And as a college student, if you're genuinely curious and genuinely interested about this and you actually believe in the technology, then I believe that doubling down on this and kind of advancing yourself in this field as much as you can is one of the best investments that you can do on yourself. Because at the end of the day, 10, 15, 5 years, whatever from now, when the people with the actual capital are trying to come in and, develop things on the blockchain, when you're in meetings with, people worth millions and billions of dollars, that's not going to mean anything, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to listen to you, whether you're a 21, 22, 23-year-old out of college, because you have the information. So I think that's a very important thing to know, because right now I don't think there is another way to sort of put yourself in that position.
And I like how you underline it doesn't matter how old you are. I feel like, especially the blockchain space, there's so many young people who are really in it and who drive this forward so quickly. And I mean, that's why we're doing this internship program. And my next question is just for Tabani, because John, you work now at Algorand Foundation, so the impact of your internship is very obvious. But Tabani, you are a market risk analyst. Can you tell us what is this job? What do you do? And how does your internship experience feed sort of into your current role?
Sure. So as a market risk analyst at a central bank, my role is actually to supervise and regulate financial institutions, banks, that are in our jurisdiction, the kind of risk they're taking in terms of derivative instruments, et cetera, that kind of like regulation and supervision of entities. So in terms of how the internship actually affected my career, so one of the key pieces that was of interest to me is how blockchain technology can be used in the creation of central bank digital currencies. So as a lot of you may be aware, a lot of countries are trying to establish and develop their own CBDCs. And it's been a very challenging journey for large jurisdictions trying to figure out the correct blockchain technology to support that, that development. And so my country and jurisdiction is no different. We're trying to develop our own CBDCs. And so my internship at Algorand actually gave me that exposure to understand the technology. So when I come back to my jurisdiction, I can actually influence that journey. That's from one perspective. The second perspective is that our jurisdiction is actually in the process of regulating how banks treat, report, and capitalize their exposure to digital assets. This is in alignment with the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. They release a prudential standard that says all banks need to actually be treating their exposures to digital assets in this way. So I'm actually involved in that process and in that journey. And as my central bank actually embarks deeper into this journey, my understanding and knowledge and network actually gained from my internship at Algorand is actually supporting that journey fantastically well. So that's how that has influenced and really helped spur my journey and actually become a crypto regulator in my jurisdiction, something I never envisioned for myself. And I think that's something that John actually also touched on, that, you know, there's so much happening in this space that you can tap into in your own unique way. And that's exactly what I'm experiencing right now. I never envisioned that I'd have a pathway in digital assets and crypto, but there's a way that whatever you're doing, whatever skills you currently have, there's a place for it in this ecosystem.
Thank you. Wow, cool. And do you have any advice for the people who are here listening today, who are considering applying for an internship? Like, how can you set yourself up for success for an internship? Maybe, yeah, John, do you want to take that one? And then Tabani?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that this is not, I guess, most internships in crypto are not similar to those in, more, corporate companies, whether it's consultancy, whether it's investment banking, commercial banking, whatever, in the sense that what the main thing, I guess, that we're looking for is, if I were to interview someone, for example, obviously the capability and willing to do something, the genuine curiosity about the subject, and when can I sort of break your crypto knowledge barrier is one of the important things. Because as I said before, this is not something with a degree. This is, something that you learn, and this is something that you're, genuinely curious about and want to actually do something. You have to show incentive every day. This is not something that, this is not a typical 9-to-5 job where you have, your tasks every day. And I'm talking about the full-time experience, obviously. It's not, you don't have your tasks every day where you're like, oh, okay, I do this, I do that. It's not a monotone job. It's an ever-evolving thing, and you have to constantly be on top of it and constantly have new ideas on how to develop the ecosystem and how to do new things. So that definitely is the right approach for it. And the other thing is networking as much as you can with everything, I think, is the best way to go about things. Go to all the crypto events that you can, go attend the club meetings, meet all these new people that are doing different things. You're going to see the people that succeed and see the people that fail and why they do both things. Try to figure out for yourself, and eventually through that networking, I think will yield fruitful results.
Great, thank you. Tabani, do you have anything to add? What's your advice for interested applicants?
Yeah, I think over and above internships and the structure that they offer, I think volunteering is quite a significant way that you can actually get involved, get your hands wet, dive in and build your network through volunteering. It doesn't always have to be a structured format such as internship. It can eventually lead to an internship if you start in different ways, such as volunteering in different, events around your universities, all of that kind of stuff. Just getting your hands wet, I think it's a very, very key way that a lot of people have actually started their journeys through volunteering. And I think that's one thing I want to just urge people to do. Volunteer, but also remember just to tap into yourself. Whatever skills you have, don't be shy to use that skill and let it shine through the ecosystem. I think that's a very key thing that we all here realizing, we're all coming from such diverse backgrounds. Not to be intimidated by how somebody else sounds and what experience they have. You have something within you that can actually contribute into the ecosystem. I think they eagerly and wanting to tap into that. So don't shy away and be intimidated by what you're seeing across other people. Use what you have, take it and own it. I think that's really something I want to just encourage.
Thank you. Wow, Tabani's powerful words here at the end. Thank you. So I was just going to go through the questions in the questions tab. I think a lot of them are about the internship program itself. And if anyone here in the audience has questions for John and Tabani while they're still here, please also use the questions tab. So I'm going to start from the bottom. Ovolabi has a question. So if the internship program is only open to recent university graduates, that is the case. So we limit it to students who have graduated in the last year and a half and not for full-time professionals. So the internships are really made for undergraduates or graduate students. Then Ernest is writing, if we're only hiring in Europe or the UK, or if we're also accepting remote positions. We are accepting remote positions. So these locations are sort of slight preferences, but they will not be the final decision. And I believe that my colleague is also adjusting the locations right now. So they're not all, I think earlier they all said London remote, and this is not the fact. Muhammad has a question. Are there remote-based internships at Algorand for recent graduates interested in not only blockchains, but specifically Algorand? I think I answered this. Yes, we have remote roles available. And then Osama is asking, he's currently doing an engineer doctorate, which is a 2-year program in the Netherlands. And so it's a postgraduate degree. And if he's eligible for this question, and yes, for this question, for the internship program, and yes, also graduate students are welcome to apply. Samuel and Ernest are asking about if you can apply from Kenya. You sure can, it's not a problem. A few of us were recently in Kenya for East Safari and had some connections there, and a lot of people already know Algorand, so that's great. Zhen Yu is asking if you can work remotely from Australia, and yes, that is totally fine. We have our current intern that we had outside of the usual cycle. She is based in Australia, and we work with her remotely. It's no problem. Jacopo is asking about a technical internship. So take a look at our DevRel JD that's on our careers website. It gives you sort of an overview of the responsibilities, but you would be part of our DevRel team, and some of our internship roles may also be sort of mixed. So if somebody comes in, they're technical, but they're also interested in other things, we may also consider sort of a mixed role depending on the candidate. Kevin is asking, can anyone share the experience with finding a mentor through Algorand and how it helped shape their future? Maybe Tapani or John, can you talk about finding mentors maybe as part of your internship or outside of your internship? John, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, finding a mentor through Algorand helps shape their future. I mean, overall, having a mentor, obviously, within different industries that you want to focus on, I think is a very important thing, because it's not like one person is going to show you all the way. You know, interacting with different kinds of people, different kinds of experience and smart people will definitely contribute a lot to you. In this specific case, I guess my mentor was PG, the head of gaming, whom I met through mutual acquaintances. And he definitely, helped me a lot during the internship as to realize how, things work within a layer one company. Because as I said before, it's not a startup, but then again, it's not like a corporate company that's been here for 1,000 years. It's kind of in between, and it has its pros and cons, mostly pros, hence why I'm still here. But you know, I think in Algorand's case, definitely having a mentor helped me out a lot. As I said, understanding how things work in a company like this, and B, how I can actually move forward most efficiently and learn as much as I can from the people around me. So definitely has a lot of impact on your career choices and how you want to move forward, because you learn from other people's mistakes.
Thanks. And Tavani, maybe I can ask you Kevin's other question. He is asking, what is the most significant thing you've contributed to or achieved while working with Algorand? Like, what's the one big thing where you're like really proud of?
Okay, so yeah, sure. Thanks, Kevin. I think for me, it was actually researching how other jurisdictions are working towards a CBDC implementation, as I mentioned earlier. One of them was the Banca Italia, a project that we ran with Michele and Massimo. It was huge. It was actually figuring out how they can actually increase the interoperability of what the bank actually does. So the challenge is that a lot of central banks are a bit more stagnant in terms of adapting technology. And one of the challenges is trying to figure out how do they integrate into the ecosystem while maintaining what they currently have going on. And what we discovered is that through the use of Algorand and Algorand blockchain, they were actually able to increase the interoperability of what they currently have going on into the Web3 ecosystem. And that's a huge thing for central banks, where they're not trying to have a huge revamp of what they're doing and reinvent the wheel, but actually integrate more seamlessly into the ecosystem. So I think researching and understanding that piece of work was extremely influential, but also the relationship that we then established between Algorand Foundation and our colleagues at Algorand. I don't know, Dora, if you're able to explain that the relationship there.
So there's Algorand Inc., and they like develop the technology, and there's Algorand Foundation. Our purpose is sort of to drive adoption and to take care of the ecosystem in a nutshell.
And establishing that relationship between the two was one of the significant pieces that I actually played a role in, where our team was engaging a lot with the Algorand Inc. team to further understand how we can strengthen the offering that they have for CBDC development.
Awesome, cool. Jen Leo has a question. I've quite a few prior work experiences, but they're not directly Web3 related. It's more of a personal interest to have 3 Web3 projects, or is a genuine interest plus showing coding capability sufficient? So Jen, prior Web3 experience is not required. If you are interested in a technical role, and you should show on your resume that you have those skills, maybe add the link to your GitHub, make sure we can look at your repo and some of the projects you've worked on. It's good to show that you're interested. Let's say you've taken a course, maybe on Udemy or one of our free education programs, or you've participated in a boot camp or a hackathon, like even if it's beginner experience, it's good to see, but it's by no means required that you are like a Web3 coding expert, by no means. Jen is also asking about technical interviews. So I don't think our DevRel team will do like a full-blown hardcore technical interview as they do for our full DevRels, but I can find that out for you and get back to you. And then Samuel is asking about, can the interns also learn other skills? So finance, economics, and related skills. So that's really up to you. We encourage all our interns to reach out to other verticals. So let's say you are in the NFT team, but you're actually really interested in impact work, reach out to that vertical, reach out to these are all your colleagues and say, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. Is there anything I can help with? Can you tell me more about X or Y? And everybody will be happy to have a virtual coffee with you and walk you through it. So it's really, the world is your oyster. And what we're trying to do again this summer, what we did last summer, is that we had these flow sessions where a vertical head would sort of explain a project that they're working on, or the overall theme, or a technical concept, and all of us staff could come, and the interns could come, and it was actually a good learning experience for everyone, because not everyone on the team is an expert in all verticals. So we make sure that our interns can dive into other verticals if they want to, but it also takes a lot of your own, you reach out to who you're interested in talking to, and they usually respond. Isaac wants to know about the education internship role. So Eva and I are hiring for the university program, for example. So I can talk about the university program role, and then maybe Eva can say a few words about the ABC's program. So as part of the university program, for example, I'm looking for somebody who has good project management experience, who is able to deal with the universities, knows what student life is like, interacting with faculty, and who's really passionate about, it sounds cheesy, but making the world a better place and making sure blockchain education is available all over the world and helps us in our initiatives. And the task could be a multitude. It could be help with events like this. It could be help on social media. It could be helping with project management and budgeting. So really, the world is your oyster. Eva, do you want to talk a little bit about what you're looking for in an intern?
Yeah, of course. Well, what am I looking for is someone very proactive about creating communities. I'm actually looking for a community builder, and of course, I need someone who speaks Spanish as well, because we have a lot of work in Latin America and in Spain, and I would like to have them helping me with translation, hosting events, moderating. These kinds of AMA will be very important, and of course. Someone very with this emotional side and trying to help students and trying to build this community. We'll be very excited to hear what are your thoughts about that. But we'll be a community builder and a lot of work growth, marketing side, and project management, of course, as Doro mentioned.
Cool, thanks, Eva. What are some fun things you could do during your internship, so we know it's everyone's summer and everybody's having fun? I mean, John gave a nice recount of the Formula E race. We can't promise everyone to go to a Formula E race, but last summer I had an intern here in the UK where I'm based, and she was able to go to the Oxford Blockchain Conference with me and participated there. And then she also supported our communities team at an event at Tate Gallery. So she really did all sorts of tasks on the day-to-day, and like a lot of due diligence, reviewing proposals and work. But then she could also come to these events with us. So that was quite fun. And we try to enable that wherever that is possible. It isn't, unfortunately, always possible depending on where you're located and what you're doing. But we usually make sure that everyone has fun. We also have a lot of fun Slack channels that if you are so inclined, if you have pets or a food lover, you can join us there. Okay, let's see. Fun.
Doro, I have two questions from the chat that I'd like to answer. There is two questions from Muhammad. He said, basically, I am a community builder and one of the pioneers to start blockchain revolution in Pakistan. I want to start building awareness and community for Algorand ecosystem here, since it's prestigious features. I have applied for a community champion role on the Bouti, but I haven't heard back if it is finalized. Do you have any clue about that, Doro?
I think the community champion roles were posted and they're closed, and I think they're reviewing applications. So if the applicant wants to drop us an email, then we can find out where the application stands. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, Muhammad, we have a community builder in Pakistan. We have our community manager from UK, Wasim. He has a lot of people working in Pakistan. Maybe I can connect you with him, so you can start figuring out how you can collaborate and start working as a community builder in Pakistan. We would love to have you. Also, Muhammad is asking as well. Also, I have applied for the internship role last week to officially get involved into the ecosystem. So are remote participants allowed to participate from Pakistan or someone else? I guess yes.
Yeah. There's no.
Yeah. There is another question from Shailesh. Said I am a master student in Northeastern University looking for a software engineer internship this summer or fall. However, I do not see any, of course, internships opening to the careers page. I am passionate about blockchain and Algorand. Is there any way I can inquire regarding open positions for software developers? Do we have something?
I mean, if we have open roles that are posted in the careers page, so right now there is nothing. I would check frequently though, that really can change day to day. We do have a DevRel internship role that would be the most suitable, but other than that, we don't currently hire for that role.
Yeah, right. That's all my questions from.
Oh, excuse me. Mohammed is also asking if, sorry, if Tabani and John also can share their LinkedIn profiles, maybe in the chat, if applicants have questions.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I have Eva's and mine LinkedIn profiles in the end, but just as a reminder, so if you scan in that code, you can go directly to the careers page, but I think most of you guys have figured it out already. We also have a expression of interest form. And what that means is that we will look at those forms. You will need to upload a letter of motivation and a resume and your LinkedIn profile. And we may then individually contact you and ask you to apply, but we ideally want you to do both. And then if you have any questions that are not answered in the FAQ on the website, or that you were unanswered today, so please feel free and email us as internships@algorand.foundation. That comes to Eva and me, and we'll try to respond as quickly as possible. And last but not least here, excuse me, Eva's in my Twitter and LinkedIn, so please befriend us, follow us, ask us questions. And we're here. I know we don't have enough time to go through everything tonight, but we'll try to do so after the event in the next couple of days, or drop us a line on Twitter or LinkedIn, or email us.
Yeah.
I think at this point in time, I want to thank John and Tabani for making time, especially Tabani. I know it's late for you and you have to go to work tomorrow, so we really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story here and how you got to Algorand Foundation. This is it from us today. Again, thanks to John and Tabani. Thank you, Eva. And sorry, I'm coughing into everyone's face.
Don't worry.
And we'll send out the slides right after the recording will be up on YouTube very soon. And I think everyone who's attended also gets a copy immediately. So please, March 17 is the cutoff date to apply. The roles on the careers page. And we have a pretty comprehensive FAQ, but if there's something you want to know, you're curious about, contact us. We're more than happy to help you. We already received about 100 expression of interest from all across the globe, from really like wonderful students. We're like blown away by these profiles. So we're very grateful for everyone who made time today. On that note, I think we can say goodbye. Thank you very much. Be in touch, and thank you. Yeah, have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you all. Email me if you need something,